Question 1. Topic: Special education law and disability rights. During a comprehensive review of a process that needs improvement, a school district finds that several individualized education programs (EAPS) do not include transition services for students with disabilities aged 16 and older. The parents of affected students file a complaint arguing that the school district is violating federal law. The district contends, while the omission was unintentional, it does not substantially impact the student's education. Which of the following best explains the school district's legal obligations under federal law? A. The district is not in violation of federal law because transition services are optional under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act (IDEA). B. The district is required to provide transition services for students aged 16 and older under IDEA, and failure to do so is violation of the law, regardless of intent. C. The district must provide transition services only if the student requests them, meaning the school is liable unless formal request was made. D. The district's omission is permissible because transition services are state, not federal, requirement. Answer: B. The district is required to provide transition services for students aged 16 and older under IDEA, and failure to do so is a violation of the law, regardless of intent. Explanation: under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act (IDEA), school districts are legally required to include transition services in the EAPS of students with disabilities beginning no later than age 16. These services help students prepare post-secondary education, employment, and independent living. The omission of such services constitutes a violation of IDEA, regardless of intent. Why B is correct. The law explicitly mandates transition services, and failure to provide them can lead to due process complaints, state intervention, or federal enforcement actions. Courts have ruled that even an unintentional failure to comply with IDEA requirements can result in legal consequences. Why A is incorrect. Transition services are not optional. They are a required component of an EAP under 34 C.F. SS 300.320. B.Y.C. is incorrect. The obligation to provide transition services is on the school district, not the student. IDEA does not require students to request services for them to be included. YD is incorrect. Transition services are mandated by federal law IDEA, not just state law. While states may have additional regulations, they cannot eliminate the federal requirement. Question 2. Topic: Fourth Amendment. Search and seizure in schools. While analyzing the root causes of sequential problems in a high school, the administration decides to conduct random locker searches to prevent contraband from being stored on school grounds. A student, Alex, challenges the search, claiming that it violates his Fourth Amendment rights. The school justifies its actions by stating that students have a reduced expectation of while on school property. Which of the following best describes the legal framework governing the school's ability to conduct random locker searches? A. The school may conduct random locker searches without individualized suspicion because students have lower expectation of privacy in school settings. B. The school may not conduct random locker searches unless it has warrant or probable cause under the Fourth Amendment. C. The school may conduct searches only if student explicitly consents to the search beforehand. D. The school must have reasonable suspicion before searching specific students. Blanket random searches without cause are generally impermissible. Answer: A. The school may conduct random locker searches without individualized suspicion because students have a lower expectation of privacy in school settings. Explanation: The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures, but New Jersey v. Tr. 1985 established that school officials do not need probable cause or a warrant to conduct searches. Instead, searches must be reasonable under the circumstances. Courts have generally upheld random locker searches because lockers are school property and students have a reduced expectation of privacy in them. YA is correct. Courts have ruled that random locker searches are constitutional because lockers remain under school control. School has an interest in maintaining safety and discipline. YB is incorrect. Schools are not held to the same probable cause and warrant requirements as law enforcement officers. Instead, the standard is reasonableness. YC is incorrect. Schools do not require student consent to conduct searches of lockers, backpacks, or other areas under their control. YD is incorrect. Reasonable suspicion is required for personal searches, but random searches have been upheld as constitutional in multiple cases, including Vernonia School District v. Acton, 1995. Question 3. Topic: Religion and education law in A situation where formal requirements conflict with religious accommodations. A public school denies a student's request to be excused from mandatory health class because it includes topics that conflict with the student's religious beliefs. The school argues that excusing the student would set precedent for other students to opt out of classes based on personal beliefs. The parents sue. The denial violates the student's First Amendment rights. Which of the following best explains how courts would likely resolve this conflict? A. The school must allow the student to opt out because requiring attendance violates the free exercise clause of the First Amendment. B. The school is not required to accommodate religious objections unless there is clear federal or state law explicitly allowing opt-outs. C. The school may deny the request because public schools have compelling interest in providing uniform curriculum and preventing disruptions. D. The school must provide an alternate assignment but is not required to allow the student to opt out entirely. Answer. D. The school must provide an alternative assignment but is not required to allow the student to opt out entirely. Explanation. The First Amendment's free exercise clause protects religious expression, but courts have consistently ruled that public schools have compelling interest in maintaining standardized curriculum. In Moser v. Hawkins County Board of Education, 1987, the court held that requiring students to participate in general education did not violate religious rights as long as the school was not forcing students to affirm beliefs they objected to. Why D is correct. Courts have ruled that schools can offer alternative assignments to accommodate religious beliefs but are not obligated to excuse students entirely. This strikes balance between religious rights and public education standards. Why A is incorrect. The free exercise clause does not guarantee the right to opt out of general education. Instead, it prevents the government from actively restricting religious expression. Why? B is incorrect. Even in the absence of explicit state or federal laws allowing opt-outs, schools must consider reasonable accommodations to prevent constitutional violations. Why? C is incorrect. While schools have compelling interest in maintaining standardized curriculum, courts generally favor reasonable accommodations, and that right denotes. Question 4. During a critical transition period where existing processes in school disciplinary actions are being revised, a high school principal implements a new policy that mandates immediate suspension for students who engage in online bullying. However, the policy does not allow students to present a case before the suspension is enforced. A student is suspended under this policy and challenges it in court, claiming a violation of due rights. What is the most legally sound outcome based on established education law? A. The policy is upheld because schools have broad discretion in maintaining discipline. B. The policy is struck down because students have a constitutional right to due process before suspension. C. The policy is upheld because online bullying occurs outside school grounds and is not subject to due process requirements. D. The policy is struck down because schools cannot regulate student conduct outside of school, including online behavior. Answer. B. The policy is struck down because students have a constitutional right to due process before suspension. Explanation. Under the 14th Amendment, public school students have a right to due process before being suspended. The landmark case Goss v. Lopez, 1975, established that students facing suspension of more than 10 days must receive at least a notice of charges and an opportunity to be heard. The principal's poll mandating immediate suspension without hearing violates these procedural due process rights. Now, even though schools have broad discretion under Tinker v. Des Moines 1969 to discipline students for conduct that disrupts the school environment, they must still follow constitutional requirements. Courts have also recognized that cyberbullying can fall within schools' jurisdiction if it causes substantial disruption, but this does not negate students' right to due process. Option is incorrect because while schools do have authority to discipline students, they must do so in a way that respects constitutional rights. Option C is incorrect because schools can regulate online behavior if it impacts the school environment. E.g. Kowalski v. Berkeley County Schools, 2011. Option D is incorrect because courts have upheld schools' right to discipline students for off-campus conduct if it affects the school. See Mahanoy Area School District v. B.L. 2021. Question 5. When developing a solution that must address opposing needs in special education, a school district is faced with a challenge. A student with autism requires one-on-one support in a quiet environment, but another student in the same class has a learning disability that benefits from peer interaction. The school creates an individualized education program that places both students in the same class with a single aid assign. Sist both the parents of the student with autism argue that this violates the student's right to an appropriate education. Under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act idea, what is the likely legal outcome? A. The school district's plan is legal because it provides services to both students without discrimination. B. The school district must modify the EAP to ensure that both students receive free appropriate public education. C. The school district can require the parents to provide private support if they disagree with the plan. D. The school district must remove one of the students from the class to comply with least restrictive environmental requirements. Answer. B. The school district must modify the EAP to ensure that both students receive a free appropriate public education. Explanation. Under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act idea, schools must provide FAPE in the least restrictive environmental The Supreme Court case in Drew v. Douglas County School District 2017 reaffirmed that schools must offer more than minimus progress in special education plans. By placing both students in the same class with a single aide, the district may fail to meet the unique needs of both students. Option is incorrect because IDEA requires individualized accommodations rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. Option C is incorrect because public schools cannot shift financial responsibility to parents under IDEA. Option D is incorrect because removing a student is a last resort under OWRI guidelines. Question 6. During a major transformation where existing methods of funding public schools are under scrutiny, a state legislature proposes a plan that reallocates property tax revenue from wealthier school districts to underfunded districts. Several wealthy districts challenge the plan, arguing it violates their constitutional rights. What is the most relevant legal precedent that will determine the outcome of this case? A. San Antonio Independent School District v. Rodriguez 1973, B. Brown v. Board of Education 1954, C. Tinker v. Des Moines Independent School District 1969, D. Goss v. Lopez 1975. Answer A. San Antonio Independent School District v. Rodriguez 1973. Explanation. The Supreme Court case San Antonio East v. Rodriguez 1973 ruled that disparities in school funding based on local property taxes do not violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The court held that education is not a fundamental right under the U.S. Constitution, and thus states have discretion over school finance. However, some states have adopted their own constitutional protections to ensure equitable funding. Option B is incorrect because Brown v. Board of Education addressed racial segregation, not school finance. Option C is incorrect because Tinker v. Des Moines dealt with student free speech, not funding. Option D is incorrect because Goss v. Lopez addressed student due process rights, not school finance. Question 7. While investigating inconsistencies across various units of a university, a faculty member discovers that the admissions process has different selection criteria for its students based on race. The university argues that it follows affirmative action policies to promote diversity. A rejected applicant sues, claiming that race-based admissions violate their rights under the Equal Protection Clause. What legal standard will the court most apply? A. Rational basis review. B. Intermediate scrutiny. C. Strict scrutiny. D. Reasonableness test. Answer C. Strict scrutiny. Explanation. When a government policy classifies individuals based on race, courts apply strict scrutiny, the highest level of judicial review. Under this standard, the government must show that the policy serves a compelling governmental interest, is narrowly tailored, and uses the least restrictive means to achieve its goal. The Supreme Court case Grotta v. Bollinger, 2003, upheld the use of race as a factor in admissions if it serves a compelling interest, such as diversity in education. However, the more recent Students for Fair Admissions v. Harvard 2023 struck down race-conscious admissions at Harvard and significantly limiting affirmative action. Option is incorrect because rational basis review applies to most economic regulations, not race-based policies. Option B is incorrect because intermediate scrutiny applies to gender-based classifications. Option D is incorrect because the reasonableness test is not a standard of constitutional review. Question 8. Amid a shift in how regulatory policies are enforced in environmental law, a state government enacts a regulation requiring all industrial facilities to reduce their carbon emissions by 40% over the next 5 years. A manufacturing company argues that the new law constitutes an unconstitutional regulatory taking under the Fifth Amendment because compliance costs would severely impact profitability. Based on precedents, what is the most likely outcome? A. The regulation is upheld because the government has broad authority to regulate for public welfare. B. The regulation is struck down because it constitutes a total taking requiring just compensation. C. The regulation is struck down because businesses have a constitutional right to operate free of environmental restrictions. D. The regulation is upheld only if the state provides financial assistance for compliance. Answer A. The regulation is upheld because the government has broad authority to regulate for public welfare. Explanation. The Takings Clause of the Fifth Amendment prohibits the government from taking private property for public use without just compensation. However, in Penn Central Transportation Company v. New York City, 1978, the Supreme Court established a framework for determining when regulations constitute a taking. Consider 1. The economic impact, 2. The extent to which the regulation interferes with reasonable investment-backed expectations, and 3. The nature of the government action. Environmental regulations are typically not considered takings unless they completely eliminate economic use of a property. Lucas v. South Carolina Coastal Council, 1992. Since the company can still operate despite increased costs, the law is likely upheld. Option B is incorrect because regulatory takings must deprive a property of all economically beneficial use to require compensation. Option C is incorrect because courts have consistently upheld environmental and safety regulations as valid government actions. Option D is incorrect because financial assistance is not required for a regulation to be constitutional. Question 9. During a reassessment of how voting laws should be applied, a state legislature passes a law requiring all voters to present government-issued photo identification before casting a ballot. A civil rights group challenges the law, arguing that it disproportionately burdens minority and elderly voters, violating the Voting Rights Act. What is the most relevant Supreme Court precedent that will influence this case? A. Shelby County v. Holder, 2013. B. Crawford v. Marion County Election Board, 2008. C. Bush v. Gore, 2000. D. Citizens United v. Feck, 2010. Answer B. Crawford v. Marion County Election Board, 2008. Explanation. In Crawford v. Marion County Election Board, 2008, the Supreme Court upheld Indiana's voter ID law, ruling that preventing voter fraud is legitimate state interest and that the burden imposed by requiring ID was not sufficient to be unconstitutional, while opponents argued that it disproportionately affected certain groups. The court found no clear evidence of widespread disenfranchisement. Option is incorrect because Shelby County v. Holder struck down key part of the Voting Rights Act, making it easier for states to change voting laws without federal oversight, but it did not rule on voter ID laws directly. Option C is incorrect because Bush v. Gore dealt with the 2000 presidential election recount, not voter ID laws. Option D is incorrect because Citizens United v. Feck addressed campaign finance laws, not voting rights. Question 10. When analyzing how ethical considerations shape corporate policies, a pharmaceutical company discovers that a life-saving drug can be produced at a much lower cost, but doing so would significantly reduce its profit margins. The company's executives debate whether to lower the price to maximize accessibility or maintain high prices to ensure strong shareholder returns. What ethical framework best supports lowering the drug price? A. Utilitarianism. B. Deontological ethics. C. Virtue ethics. D. Ethical egoism. Answer A. Utilitarianism. Explanation. Utilitarianism, a moral philosophy championed by John Stuart Mill and Jeremy Bentham, states that actions should aim to produce the greatest good for the greatest number. Lowering the drug price would make it more accessible to more people, increasing overall well-being. Option B is incorrect because deontological ethics, Kantian ethics, focuses on duty and rules rather than consequences. Option C is incorrect because virtue ethics emphasizes moral character over specific actions. Option D is incorrect because ethical egoism argues that individuals and corporations should act in their own self-interest. Question 11. Amid changes in global trade policies, a government imposes tariffs on imported steel to protect domestic manufacturers. In response, another country files a complaint with the World Trade Organization (WTO), arguing that the tariffs violate international trade agreements. WTO rules which principle will be most relevant in resolving the dispute. A. National treatment principle. B. Most favored nation (MFN) principle. C. Subsidization principle. D. Dumping and countervailing duties principle. Answer: B. Most favored nation (MFN) principle. Explanation: the most favored nation (MFN) principle is a core rule of WTO requiring that countries treat all trading partners equally unless a legal exception applies. If a country imposes tariffs on one trading partner but not others, it may violate this principle. However, exceptions exist under national security or anti-dumping measures. Option is incorrect because national treatment applies to domestic laws affecting foreign and local businesses equally. Option C is incorrect because subsidization refers to government financial support of industries. Option D is incorrect because dumping and countervailing duties apply to selling goods below market value, not tariffs. Question 12. While reviewing how policies affect financial markets, a new federal regulation limits the amount of leverage banks can use in high-risk investments. Some large financial institutions challenge the rule, arguing that it infringes on their right to conduct business freely. What is the strongest legal justification for upholding the regulation? A. The Commerce Clause. B. The Takings Clause. C. The First Amendment. D. The Privileges and Immunities Clause. Answer A. The Commerce Clause. Explanation: the Commerce Clause, Article I, Section 8, gives Congress broad authority to regulate economic activities that affect interstate commerce. Financial markets are inherently interstate in nature, meaning the government has the power to impose regulations to ensure stability and prevent economic crises, as reaffirmed in cases like Gonzalez v. Raich, 2005. Option B is incorrect because the Takings Clause applies to property rights, not financial regulations. Option C is incorrect because the First Amendment does not protect business practices from government regulations. Option D is incorrect because the Privileges and Immunities Clause applies to state discrimination against out-of-state residents, not banking regulations. Question 13. During a critical transition period where existing processes are being replaced with automated systems, a company faces resistance from employees who fear job displacement. What is the most effective approach to mitigate resistance and ensure a smooth transition? A. Implement the new system immediately and address concerns later. B. Provide employees with training, involve them in the transition, and highlight new opportunities. C. Offer financial incentives for early adopters and ignore those who resist. D. Announce the change with minimal details to prevent panic. Answer: B. Provide employees with training, involve them in the transition, and highlight new opportunities. Explanation: employee resistance is common during automation changes. Change management strategies emphasize transparency, training, and involvement. Employees are more likely to accept new systems if they see benefits, career growth, and skill development opportunities. McKinsey's change management framework highlights communication, engagement, upskilling as key components of a smooth transition. Option A is incorrect because ignoring concerns leads to more resistance. Option C is incorrect as selective incentives can create division. Option D is incorrect since lack of communication causes uncertainty and speculation. Question 14. When dealing with a complex system that shows occasional failures, a company must determine whether the issue originates from hardware, software, or human factors. What is the most effective way to diagnose the problem? A. Immediately replace the hardware to eliminate one variable. B. Run controlled experiments by isolating different components systematically. C. Increase software updates and monitor if the issue persists. D. Assign blame to human error and retrain staff. Answer: B. Run controlled experiments by isolating different components systematically. Explanation: root cause analysis, or CA, requires isolating variables to determine the origin of failures. Systematic troubleshooting through controlled experiments helps pinpoint the issue rather than making assumptions. Techniques such as the 5 whys method and fault tree analysis are useful. Option is incorrect because replacing hardware may be costly and unnecessary. Option C is incorrect because software updates alone may not resolve underlying hardware or human-related issues. Option D is incorrect because human error should not be assumed without evidence. Question 15. In a high-stakes environment where multiple challenges arise simultaneously, an emergency response team must prioritize its actions. What is the best framework to ensure effective decision-making? A. The Eisenhower matrix for urgent versus important tasks. B. A random approach. to address problems as they arise. C. Delegation to individuals based on availability rather than expertise. D. A fixed response sequence that does not change based on the situation. Answer 8. The Eisenhower matrix for urgent versus important tasks. Explanation. The Eisenhower matrix helps prioritize tasks based on urgency and importance, ensuring that critical actions are taken first while delegating or postponing less urgent ones. In high-stakes scenarios like disaster response or crisis management, this method prevents decision paralysis and resource misallocation. Option B is incorrect because randomness leads to inefficiency. Option C is incorrect as expertise is crucial in emergencies. Option D is incorrect because flexibility is key in unpredictable situations. Question 16. While investigating a complicated issue between different teams in an organization, conflicting reports emerge about the source of the problem. What is the best way to resolve the discrepancies? A. Rely on senior management to make an immediate decision. B. Gather objective data, conduct a neutral investigation and facilitate open discussions. C. Accept the majority opinion and dismiss minority viewpoints. D. Assume the problem is unsolvable and move on. Answer B. Gather objective data, conduct a neutral investigation and facilitate open discussions. Explanation. Conflicts often arise due to miscommunication, incomplete data, or bias. A fact-based approach ensures fairness and credibility. Tools like root cause analysis, surveys, and cross-functional meetings help clarify issues. Option is incorrect because top-down decisions may lack full context. Option C is incorrect as minority viewpoints may hold critical insights. Option D is incorrect because problems must be addressed for long-term success. Question 17. When implementing new protocols in a shared environment, some stakeholders resist due to concerns about workflow disruptions. What is the best strategy to gain buy-in? A. Mandate compliance with no discussion. B. Engage stakeholders early. Address concerns and demonstrate benefits. C. Allow only senior management to make decisions without consulting employees. D. Implement a slow rollout without explaining the purpose. Answer B. Engage stakeholders early. Address concerns and demonstrate benefits. Explanation. Stakeholder engagement is key to successful change adoption. By involving employees in decision-making, addressing their concerns, and showing value, organizations reduce resistance. Kotter's change model emphasizes the importance of communication and early engagement. Option is incorrect because forced mandates create resistance. Option C is incorrect because excluding employees leads to disengagement. Option D is incorrect because lack of explanation reduces effectiveness. Question 18. In a scenario where efficiency decreases across multiple departments, a company must diagnose performance bottlenecks. What is the best method to identify the root cause? A. Use process mapping and data analysis to pinpoint inefficiencies. B. Blame employees for reduced productivity. C. Increase workload without analyzing the issue. D. Assume inefficiency is temporary and do nothing. Answer A. Use process mapping and data analysis to pinpoint inefficiencies. Explanation. Process mapping helps visualize workflows, while data analysis identifies inefficiencies. Methods like Lean Six Sigma and Pareto analysis can uncover root causes. Option B is incorrect as productivity issues often stem from systemic problems. Option C is incorrect because increasing workload without diagnosis worsens the problem. Option D is incorrect as ignoring inefficiencies leads to long-term losses. Question 19. While analyzing the root causes of sequential problems in a production line, a team notices inconsistencies in output quality. What approach is most effective for long-term resolution? A. Use statistical process control (SBC) to monitor variations. B. Ignore fluctuations unless they cause significant failure. C. Change suppliers without analyzing the issue. D. Increase production speed to compensate. Answer A. Use statistical process control (SBC) to monitor variations. Explanation. SBC use real-time data tracking to detect variations, preventing quality issues. Control charts and Six Sigma help identify trends before defects occur. Option B is incorrect because small issues can escalate. Option C is incorrect since supplier changes should be data-driven. Option D is incorrect as speed does not fix defects. Question 20. In a situation where formal requirements conflict with practical implementation, how should an organization proceed? A. Rigidly follow requirements without considering practical constraints. B. Conduct stakeholder discussions and adjust where necessary. C. Ignore requirements in favor of practical solutions. D. Assume conflicts will resolve themselves over time. Answer: B. Conduct stakeholder discussions and adjust where necessary. Explanation: balancing compliance and practicality requires negotiation, analysis, and flexibility. Organizations use agile frameworks to adapt without compromising key standards. Option is incorrect as rigidity can cause inefficiencies. Option C is incorrect because disregarding requirements can lead to legal risks. Option D is incorrect as conflicts rarely resolve without action. Question 21. In a multi-location scenario where consistency requirements must be met across all branches, a company notices variations in customer service quality. What is the best approach to standardize service quality? A. Implement strict penalties for underperforming branches. B. Develop clear service guidelines, provide training, and conduct regular audits. C. Allow each branch to operate independently to maintain flexibility. D. Focus only on high-performing locations and disregard inconsistencies. Answer: B. Develop clear service guidelines, provide training, and conduct regular audits. Explanation: to maintain consistency in service quality across multiple locations, a company should use a standardized framework with clear policies, training programs, and performance audits. McKinsey's operational excellence model emphasizes the role of structured guidelines, employee development, and continuous monitoring. Option is incorrect because penalties create resentment rather than improvement. Option C is incorrect because inconsistency can damage brand reputation. Option D is incorrect as ignoring low-performing locations reduces overall quality. Question 22. When scaling up operations that experience significant inefficiencies, what is the best method to ensure smooth growth? A. Increase production capacity without addressing inefficiencies. B. Conduct a process analysis, streamline workflows, and automate tasks where possible. C. Hire more employees without changing existing processes. D. Reduce expansion efforts to maintain the status quo. Answer: B. Conduct a process analysis, streamline workflows, and automate tasks where possible. Explanation: scaling up successfully requires identifying inefficiencies, first through methods like Lean and Six Sigma, then implementing automation and streamlined workflows to handle increased demand. Toyota's production system is prime example of continuous improvement, Kaizen, in scaling efficiently. Option is incorrect because inefficiencies multiply when scaling. Option C is incorrect since hiring without process optimization increases costs. Option D is incorrect as avoiding expansion leads to lost market opportunities. Question 23. While updating traditional approaches where interconnections exist between various systems, what is the best way to prevent compatibility issues? A. Test new systems in isolated environments before full deployment. B. Implement new approaches immediately and address problems as they arise. C. Replace all systems at once without testing. D. Ignore compatibility concerns and proceed with implementation. Answer A. Test new systems in isolated environments before full deployment. Explanation: organizations use sandbox testing, pilot programs, and phased rollouts to minimize compatibility issues when updating legacy systems. Failure to test beforehand can cause system-wide failures and data loss. Option B is incorrect because addressing issues reactively leads to downtime. Option C is incorrect as replacing all systems simultaneously increases risks. Option D is incorrect since ignoring compatibility issues can disrupt operations. Question 24. During a seamless transition where continuity must be maintained, how can organizations avoid disruption? A. Develop a phased transition plan with contingency measures. B. Implement all changes at once and resolve issues afterward. C. Rely solely on employees to adjust without structured guidance. D. Delay the transition indefinitely to avoid risk. Answer A. Develop a phased transition plan with contingency measures. Explanation: change management frameworks such as Kotter's 8-step model emphasize gradual implementation with contingency plans to ensure business continuity during transitions. Option B is incorrect because sudden changes cause confusion. Option C is incorrect as structured guidance is necessary. Option D is incorrect since delaying indefinitely leads to stagnation. Question 25. In a situation where resource allocation becomes a challenge due to competing priorities, what is the best way to ensure efficient distribution? A. Prioritize based on strategic goals using data-driven decision-making. B. Distribute resources equally without assessing needs. C. Allow departments to compete for resources without oversight. D. Cut resources across all departments to maintain balance. Answer A. Prioritize based on strategic goals using data-driven decision-making. Explanation. Effective resource allocation involves assessing impact, aligning with strategic goals, and using data analytics to guide decisions. The Pareto Principle 80-20 rule helps organizations focus resources where they have the greatest impact. Option B is incorrect since equal distribution may not meet specific needs. Option C is incorrect because lack of oversight leads to inefficiencies. Option D is incorrect as across-the-board cuts may hurt critical functions. Question 26. During an emergency response where multiple areas are impacted, what is the best approach to ensure an effective response? A. Establish a clear chain of command and coordinate communication. B. Let individual teams respond independently without coordination. C. React spontaneously based on immediate circumstances. D. Delay action until more information is available. Answer A. Establish a clear chain of command and coordinate communication. Explanation. Crisis management requires a centralized command structure to ensure clear decision-making, coordination, and communication. The incident command system X is widely used in disaster response and emergency management for structured leadership. Option B is incorrect because independent responses lead to confusion. Option C is incorrect as lack of planning results in inefficiencies. Option D is incorrect because waiting too long worsens the situation. Question 27. While examining inconsistencies across various units in a company, what is the best way to improve alignment? A. Conduct regular cross-functional meetings and establish shared KPIs. B. Allow each unit to operate independently without standard guidelines. C. Focus only on high-performing units and ignore others. D. Implement top-down changes without input from unit leaders. Answer A. Conduct regular cross-functional meetings and establish shared KPIs. Explanation. Cross-functional alignment improves through consistent communication, shared performance indicators, KPIs, and collaborative problem solving. Google's OCR framework is a strong example of aligning company-wide goals. Option B is incorrect because lack of standardization causes inefficiencies. Option C is incorrect as ignoring low performers reduces overall effectiveness. Option D is incorrect since top-down approaches may not address actual needs. Question 28. When implementing backup procedures across various locations, how should organizations ensure reliability? A. Regularly test backups and establish redundancy measures. B. Assume backups will function correctly without testing. C. Only create backups for primary locations. D. Store backups in a single location. Answer A. Regularly test backups and establish redundancy measures. Explanation. Effective disaster recovery planning includes routine backup testing, data redundancy, and geographically distributed storage. The 3-2-1 backup rule, 3 copies, 2 mediums, 1 offsite enhances security. Option B is incorrect as untested backups may fail. Option C is incorrect since all locations require backups. Option D is incorrect as storing backups in one place risks total loss. Question 29. In an environment where different components must interact seamlessly, what is the best way to prevent integration issues? A. Use standardized protocols and conduct interoperability testing. B. Let components function independently without integration efforts. C. Delay integration until problems arise. D. Change components frequently without testing. Answer A. Use standardized protocols and conduct interoperability testing. Explanation. Successful system integration relies on common protocols, API standardization, and pre-deployment testing to prevent compatibility issues. The OC model provides a structured approach to ensuring component interaction. Option B is incorrect as lack of integration causes inefficiencies. Option C is incorrect because proactive integration reduces risk. Option D is incorrect as frequent and tested changes cause instability. Question 30. During a period of rapid change where adaptability is critical, what is the best strategy for maintaining organizational resilience? A. Foster a culture of continuous learning, encourage innovation, and implement agile decision-making. B. Rely on existing processes without adjusting to new challenges. C. Make changes only when external pressures force the organization to do so. D. Avoid risk by delaying innovation efforts. Answer A. Foster culture of continuous learning, encourage innovation, and implement agile decision-making. Explanation. Organizations that thrive in rapidly changing environments emphasize continuous learning, adaptability, and innovation. Agile methodologies like Scrum and organizational resilience frameworks highlight the importance of quick decision-making, employee engagement, and a forward-thinking mindset. Option B is incorrect because failing to adapt leads to stagnation. Option C is incorrect since waiting for external pressure reduces competitive advantage. Option D is incorrect as avoiding risk prevents growth and innovation.